Hello and welcome once again to the Waters and Stanton video channel. I decided to take a look at the 9:1 UnUn random end-fed antenna because it's an antenna which is becoming more and more popular. Now, if I go back about 20 odd years, I can remember sort of hearing about these antennas, random length of wire fed with a 9:1 UnUn, and that they covered multi-band HF antenna. But I was a bit dubious because I'd been brought up on resonant antennas. You know, you have a resonant antenna, a dipole and so forth. But of course, I was also aware of the end-fed half-wave, which was becoming popular. Anyway, about a year ago, I decided to test a random wire antenna fed with a 9:1 UnUn as a sort of base station antenna. I'd done some previous work on it and I was not really that convinced. But I thought, well, I'm going to take down my half-size G5RV and replace it with a random wire fed via a 9:1 UnUn. I think one of the most important things with any antenna is to understand how it works. Once you understand how it works, you then know how to make some minor adjustments, perhaps to try and improve things and get slightly better performance, better VSWR, etc. That's why at the beginning of this video I'm going to explain how the antenna works. Later in the video I'll show you a diagram of the antenna itself, and it'll give you some idea of how you need to start, the right length of the antenna, where everything goes, etc. And then you'll be more confident in experimenting with this antenna. I think first of all, one needs to look at the pros and cons. I mean, the pros of a random wire antenna is because it's a length of wire which is easy to erect. Most stations that want to get on the HF bands, most amateurs that want to get on the HF bands can erect some form of horizontal wire. Now, horizontal wire antennas tend to be more popular than verticals because verticals do have a reputation for picking up more noise, and they are not so good on the lower frequency bands because they tend to propagate low angle radiation, and that's not really what we want, particularly on bands like 40 meters. Anyway, the fact is that all the stations I work, most of the stations say they've got a horizontal antenna of some form. So let's take a look at the 9:1 UnUn fed random wire antenna. Well, the advantage is it's very simple. It's a length of wire. All you need is a 9:1 UnUn. You can actually make yourself a 9:1 UnUn transformer. It's pretty simple to make, but you may prefer to purchase a ready-made one. One of the most popular 9:1 UnUns is the LDG UnUn. If you go onto our website, you can see it there. Here we are. This is the unit, rated at 200 watts. And if you go down here, you'll see the spec there. And I'd recommend that as a starter if you want a ready-made UnUn. That works pretty well, and it's a very popular transformer. It's rated at 200 watts, so if you've got your normal 100 watt station, there's no problems. If you're going to run a linear amplifier, then of course you would need to get a higher rated one. But that's all you need really. You need a transformer, a length of wire, and a length of coax cable. It means to say that it's quite a cheap option. It also has the advantage, apparently, of covering quite a number of bands. In fact, some will say it covers all the HF bands. It depends, of course, on the length of the wire. And it means to say that it's pretty quick to put up, pretty quick to take down. It's not that conspicuous, really. It's probably can be classed as a stealth antenna because it's just a length of wire down the garden, and it doesn't have to be in a straight line. You can bend it around the garden, you can have a vertical section and a horizontal section, but basically it's a length of wire and you fit it in the garden as well as you can. Now, the basic principle of a random end-fed wire via a 9:1 UnUn is pretty simple. Basically, it works on the concept that a length of wire can be made to operate quite happily on a number of bands if it's the right length. Now, this is where random and length of wire seem to be sort of, opposite to each other. How can you have a random wire when you've got to specify how long it is? So I'll put up on the screen now some lengths of wire which are known to be pretty good for multi-band operation. And as you can see, you've got quite a selection. I chose the length of 71 feet because that suited my garden. And the principle is that antenna on most of the bands will present a medium impedance. In other words, it's not your low impedance of 50 ohms, it's not your high impedance of 2,000 or 3,000 ohms, which you would normally use for an end-fed half wave. It's a medium impedance. We're talking about 400, 500, 600 ohms. And that's the principle of the 9-to-1 UnUn. The 9-to-1 UnUn likes to see something around about 450 ohms, and it's not too difficult to get a length of wire that presents that medium impedance. It's not perfect, which means to say you won't get a ultra low SWR, and we'll come back to that in a minute. So you get yourself 71 foot of wire or whatever length you like to select, and you get yourself a 9-to-1 UnUn transformer. What else do you need? Well, all you need really is a length of coax cable to feed it. It's not quite that simple actually, but basically it's a coax fed antenna, and I'll put up on the screen now the basic layout or the basic design of a 9-to-1 end-fed antenna. And you can see from the drawing it's a very simple arrangement. On the left you've got the coax feed which goes back to your transceiver. You've got your 9-to-1 UnUn transformer, and then you've got your length of wire. And although I've shown it as a single length of wire, it can be bent around the garden. But just make sure that you select one of the recommended lengths. That gives you the good starting point. Now the first thing to say is it's not truly an end-fed wire because the coax cable also takes part of the form of the antenna, because the coax cable becomes part of the antenna. In actual fact, it's more like an off-centre fed dipole. If that's the right word. I'm not quite sure whether to call it a dipole because we think of dipoles as being resonant. Anyway, it's got two poles. One pole is your length of wire down the garden, the other pole is your coax cable. Now, the coax cable length is not super critical. I found that it's not really that critical, but it is recommended that the length of coax cable should be blocked off so that it's a predetermined length. In other words, how do we block off that length of coax cable to a certain length? Well, we put a line isolator in it. I've just put up on the screen here a line isolator. It's basically the coax wound round a ferrite core. The recommendation is that the length of coax to the first line isolator should be about 0.05% of a wavelength or the lowest frequency. So let's take, let's assume that we want to operate 40 meters through to 10 meters with our random wire, and 71 foot is not a bad starting point. So you should put your line isolator in at 2 meters along the coax from the transformer. So going back from the transformer, go down coax cable 2 meters long and put a ferrite line isolator in there. But the antenna does actually work on 80 meters. So I would suggest that what you do with a 71 foot length of wire is to put your line isolator at a point which is 4 meters down the cable. In other words, we're talking about what, 14 or 15 feet, something like that. It's not critical, but put a line isolator in there, and that acts as the other pole. So on one side you've got your length of wire, the other side you've got your shortish length of coax cable, and that's then isolated from the rest of the coax run back to the station with the line isolator. Now, because there's a lot of RF flowing about on an antenna like that, I would always recommend that you also put a line isolator at the point when the coax goes into the radio room, and I would put it as close as possible to the first item in the chain. The first item in the chain could be the transceiver, it could be an SWR meter, it could be an antenna tuner. And that takes me on to something that you also need to consider. As wonderful as a random wire antenna is, fed with a 9-to-1 UnUn, it doesn't produce an ultra-low VSWR. You'll probably find on some bands you get quite a reasonable VSWR, but on a lot of the bands you're going to get something like 2.5 or 3-to-1. Hands up in horror, 3-to-1 VSWR, it's not going to work, Peter. Yeah, it does work actually. The loss you get on a 3-to-1 VSWR is pretty small on the HF bands, but you may find that your transceiver struggles on some bands with that sort of VSWR, and it's very much hit and miss. I find that on my 71-foot length of wire, I can match any band from 20 meters through to 10 meters, no problem at all. 40 meters is a little bit of a struggle, and the way to deal with that, I'm afraid, is to use an external antenna matching unit. An external antenna matching unit, generally speaking, has a much wider range of matching ability than some of the internal antenna matching units. Now, I know that Elecraft transceivers, their antenna matching units are very good. I know the Yaesu FT710 and I think the FTDX10 101, they've got some very good antenna matching units inside, and they probably don't need an external matching unit. But you may need an external matching unit on some other models, and it's difficult to actually define which ones. But be prepared to invest in an external antenna matching unit for particularly the lower bands. And I use an LDG antenna matching unit. That works wonderfully well, and it allows me to operate my antenna on 80 meters right through to 10 meters with no problem at all. So I'll put up on the screen now a typical chain of equipment you need. You've got your coax run coming from the antenna. I would recommend that you have a line isolator just before the antenna tuner that we see on the left. So the antenna tuner on the left is the one that will enable your transceiver to work quite happily into the antenna system. In other words, if you've got a 3-to-1 VSWR on whatever band it is, the antenna matching unit should match it okay. Then we've got a VSWR meter just to actually monitor the VSWR. But if you get an LDG antenna tuner, then it's got a built-in VSWR meter anyway, so you can forget the VSWR meter. And then you've got your transceiver, and the transceiver, of course, can be anything. It's your choice. So how does this antenna work? Well, it works pretty well, actually. I've had my antenna up now for about a year. I didn't expect it to have it up for a year because I thought that after I'd tested it and sort of found that I could operate on quite a number of bands, that I'd take it down and replace it with my original antenna, which is a half-size G5RV. Well, I haven't done, actually, because it works pretty well. It actually works on 80 meters. I've had quite a few QSOs in the evening on 80 meters. I've even had some QRP contacts on 80 meters in the evening with my little QMX transceiver. And although the antenna matching unit won't enable me to operate on 160 meters, if I wanted to operate on 160 meters, normally I'd have to have a longer wire. And that is basically a guide. If you want to operate on the lower frequency bands, then try and get a lower length or a longer length in. Nevertheless, I've stuck with 71 feet. I've got a valve linear amplifier with a Pi network. And if I connect my antenna system up directly to the Pi network and the linear, that Pi network will actually match the antenna on 160 meters. And that, of course, underlines the fact that a Pi network has got a great matching capability. But if I use the LDG ATU, it will work on 80 meters, right through to 10 meters, no problem at all. One thing that I would emphasize is that the basic measurements of the elements, in this case I've got a 71-foot element, that basic length is not cast in stone, because as with any antenna, an antenna is affected to some extent by its surroundings. So don't be frightened to change the length slightly. What you do need is some sort of antenna analyzer so you can see the whole spectrum of the bands that the antenna is supposed to cover. And then you can, with a bit more confidence, make some minor adjustments. So these measurements are not cast in stone. Don't be frightened of changing the length of the actual element. I honestly found that making any adjustment to the feeder length really didn't have that much effect on the antenna. And in fact, at one point, I just took off all the line isolators except the line isolator that went into the line isolator just before the coax went into the transceiver. In other words, the line isolator, the shack end, I kept that there. And really and truly, all my other adjustments were made simply by adjusting the actual antenna element. So there's a tip for you. So to summarise, I think that the 9-to-1 random wire antenna is quite a serious antenna for those that want to get on a number of HF bands. It's low cost, it's easy to install, and it works quite well. Noise-wise, well, I haven't noticed any noise problems at all. Interference, so forth, I've had no reports of interference. As regards the polar diagram, well, it seems it's not omnidirectional, quite clearly. No horizontal wire is omnidirectional. But it does seem to give good coverage, and I've been on the bands and worked all sorts of stations all over the world, and really had no feeling that one direction is better than another, really. Clearly there will be some nulls, but if there are some nulls, it hasn't been that evident to me. What I would say is it's a great antenna for the beginner. It's a good antenna to get started with. It's low profile. It gives you multi-band operation. You do have to consider possibly investing in an antenna matching unit, an external one that is, but it's likely if you've got one of the modern transceivers, and I can only vouch for the Yaesu ones, the Yaesu FT710, I think the FTDX10 uses the same ATU, and I guess the FTDX101 series will have the same ATU. They probably will cope okay. But it's very much a suck it and see situation, because a lot of these antennas will work differently in different locations. In other words, you may find that perhaps it struggles on 80 metres or 40 metres, and you might have to consider an external antenna matching unit. But that's very much a sort of suck it and see situation. But even considering the antenna matching unit, it's still a very attractive, simple installation, low profile, doesn't get too much attention from the neighbours, and works pretty well. And you can't say much more than that. And that's my take on the 9-to-1 random wire end-fed antenna.